Hey there, and in this video we are going to look how to develop your own subdomain enumeration tool using the language Python. And we are going to do this very beginner friendly so anyone can understand it. A really simple tool that will work for us. And yeah, so let's get started. So let's first see what are the modules we need. So there are two modules we need, that is request and sys. Let's look at each one of them. So the first thing we want to know is the Python request library. Python request library is used to make HTTP requests to a web service. So Python request module has several built-in methods to make HTTP requests to a specific URL like get, post, put, patch, or head request. For example, we can see a syntax in here. It's the basic syntax to do a get request on a particular URL. So we have to provide the URL or the parameters if there are any and other arguments. And it will give us the response back and we can print that response. So this is how it works. We are using it because in subdomain enumeration, of course, we want to send HTTP request for whatever the subdomains we are enumerating. Okay, so now let's move on to the second library that we are going to use, sys library. This module provides access to some variables used or maintained by the interpreter and to functions that interact strongly with the interpreter. For example, we have this syntax in here, sys.argv, whatever you want to call it, I guess. Okay, so it takes an argument from the interpreter and store it in a variable. So for example, you are using a Python script and you want to provide the IP address for the particular target. So how the Python script is going to take that IP address and store it in some kind of variable. So you can use this sys.arg and you can provide the number of arguments that the Python script is going to take. Right here it's written 1, so the Python script is going to take 1 or a single argument, and you can change it to 2, 3, or 4, any number of arguments that we want to provide for that particular script. So this is really helpful for this project. Now let's move on to the steps for doing this project. So the steps we are going to do is get the word list and split them in 2 lines, and then start a for loop on the given word list, and then test for each URL. If it exists, then print it on the screen, and if it doesn't exist, then don't print it on the screen. So first, the word list, we will take it and the Python script will read that word list and then split them into 1 by 1 lines, and then we'll start a for loop on each line. So there will be the URL, and the URL will get changed by some particular words that are available in the word list, and then it's going to send some HTTP request onto that website, and it's going to check if it is a 200 OK or not, and according to that it will give us the result. So now let's finally move on to the coding part. So now I'm on my Kala desktop and I have my Sublime text editor open. So let's start by importing the request module and the sys module. And the next thing we want to do is to declare a variable. Let's call it sublist, and in this variable we want to store the contents of the word list file that we are using. So I have the wordlist.txt file saved in my current directory where I am editing my Python file. So I want to read this file and declare another variable, call it subs, and in this variable we want to store a list. So we are basically using a method called split lines method, and this method will basically split the lines in the wordlist.txt file and save it as a list. Now we want to start a for loop. So for sub in subs, we want to store it in a variable, let's call it subdomain, and provide f string. So this basically helps to provide the expression and the value of the expression. We can provide it in the string literal. So http:// and the sub. So this sub will change as the for loop will loop through the wordlist.txt file. And then we are providing the sys method, which basically will take the command or the domain from the user from the command line. So now we are trying and using a try and except syntax, in which we will try to get the request, and if it's a 200 OK, then give us the result, and otherwise not. So except there is a connection error, which might happen if there is a 404 kind of server error. So if there is something like that, we basically want to pass it. Now, else we want to print the valid domain. So print valid domain, and then we have to provide the variable we declared, that is subdomain. So yeah, this is the final script. We can also import one more thing, that is pyfiglet or pyfiglet, whatever you want to call it. So import it, and this basically will show a banner, something like that in ASCII, and it will make the stuff beautiful. Let me show you. Just declare a variable ASCII banner and use the pyfiglet method and figlet -format, and then whatever you want to display it on the terminal. So I'm gonna call Subdomain Tool, and then we will just print the ASCII banner on the screen. It will make it much more beautiful. So save it and open the terminal. So I have my terminal opened in here. So let's increase the size of it a little bit. That looks fine. Now type in the command. First, let me go to my downloads folder, downloads Pentesting folder, where I have my Python script. Now Python 3, and also make sure you have Python 3 installed in your system. So Python 3 subenum.py, and the domain name, that is google.com. Okay, something wrong. We are getting valid domain, but we're not getting the ASCII banner. Let's see. Yeah, we just printed the ASCII banner. We want to retrieve the value of ASCII banner. So my bad. Let's remove the strings. Save it again and go back to the terminal. Let's clear the screen up, and again with the same command. And yeah, we can see the Subdomain Tool banner, and then it's enumerating the domain on google.com, and we can see these are the valid domains. So yeah, that's how you can create your own subdomain enumeration tool, a really simple script. I hope you understand, and I hope you like this video.